Now, it is absolutely true that good news doesn't spread as quickly and widely as bad news does, but in the video game world, I think this is worth applauding. Now, we know with Nintendo, Xbox, Microsoft Xbox, and Sony PlayStation, we've been talking about the way games have been changed according to adhere to modern day, um, you know, standards of what is okay and what isn't. Most people, and I want to give you my opinion on maybe some of these more spicy video games, but at the end of the day, I think that these same policies apply to all video games across the board. There is a very blatant double standard when it comes to how video game journalists decide to treat whether or not they're mad about something. Now, if you use a bad word, that might be some of the worst. If a female in a video game is attractive, that's like about as bad as it gets. But like, Mortal Kombat, like all their end moves and all the just over the top blood and all this stuff, that's all fine. But you see a side bob, and that's a big problem. So I want to take the 4 o'clock hour to celebrate Nintendo. And I hope that you will also consider liking the video and leaving a comment and sharing it, because companies that stand with gamers, that stand against censorship, need to know we are here for them. In the age of the cry bully, for the game journalists, constantly browbeating video game developers and, of course, companies as a whole like Sony or Nintendo or Xbox, telling them what's right and what's wrong. They need to know that we, the customer, matter more than they do. This is the same thing we talked about with limited run games. I still haven't forgiven them for giving in to a forum, a video game forum that does nothing but try to intimidate and browbeat game developers when they decide that they're outraged. A forum that has chased down employees of mine and doxed them. This is the time when we need to take that extra step and be like, you know what, this is positive. I'm going to share it out, and I'm going to tell Nintendo, hey, I'm with you. So this is coming from an excellent video game website, a website that you should absolutely have bookmarked. It's exclusivelygames.com. Since you, the community, funded this project, we continue to put out good articles, and I think this might be legit the first time I've covered an article off this website, because I do try to keep myself separate from it. That's why I don't write for it, and that's why I don't really have any input on the articles. I want the site to exist on its own so that people can't smear it. Not that they won't try. So this coming from the news reporter, good old Jack Lindsay. Nintendo says censoring games is bad for the industry, and that it significantly inhibits diversity. It prefers to leave regulations to the ERSB, and parental controls are good parenting. Parental controls and good parenting replace censorship. Ba-boom! That is what I'm talking about. Lost in all these arguments about things that should or shouldn't be in video games for kids, we continually, not you, the smart viewer of mine, but these people that write these articles, continue to dismiss the parents' responsibility in purchasing the latest Call of Duty game for their 8-year-old. Look, I get that there's some pressure in school if you're not playing it. I get that all the cool kids are playing the latest Battlefield 5. So what? You're a parent, not a friend. It's very simple. My parents didn't let me play any of those type of games when I was young, and then when I was like 15 or 16, they stopped kind of like worrying so much about it. And, that's called good parenting. And I don't know why everyone is so quick to dismiss personal responsibility. Oh, wait, I do. Because most of the people that write these articles aren't living in a world of reality, and where their own failures and personal shortcomings are everybody else's fault but their own. But I digress. At Nintendo's annual meeting of shareholders, President Not gonna try it. Had some words for the recent trend of censoring in games such as these by Sony. When asked about Nintendo intended to handle the matter, Furukawa responded that content regulation for third-party titles was better left to the ratings agencies like the ERSB and the CERO. Exactly. Just because a game is rated maybe 18 or older doesn't mean it doesn't have a right to exist. People can purchase whatever they want. I mean, are we going to censor all those little shops off the expressway that still sell DVDs and VHS copies of certain videos? Are we going to shut down all the hubs, all the tubes, all the hamsters? No. He went on to say that arbitrary gatekeeping of games, as in not driven by market forces, was ultimately harmful to the industry as a whole. Oh, so good. Nintendo! My goodness. I need to buy a new Nintendo game. Hey, if you have a game for the Switch that you can recommend that came out in the last 6 months, let me know. I've kind of fallen off the wagon. I just gotta collect them now. So I'm going to buy a Switch game today to support them. And tweet from Censor Game, you can see the full quote. So the full quote goes, Nintendo, as do third parties and their software, applies for an objective rating from third-party organizations prior to release. If platform holding companies choose arbitrarily, the diversity and fairness of game software would be significantly inhibited. We provide parental controls, and that can be used to apply limits. And since Twitter is notorious for censorship itself, here's the full context of the response. Boom, nice writing there, Jack. Whoever hired you is one smart cookie. And I'll leave a link to this article as well. About the content regulation on their platforms, there are cases of restrictions applied independently of the CERO and third-party organizations. What does Nintendo do? And the full reply goes, Nintendo, as do third parties and software, applies for an objective rating from third-party organizations prior to release. If platform holding companies choose arbitrarily, the diversity and fairness in-game software would be significantly inhibited. We provide parental controls that can be used to apply limits. Compare this quote to the one below on the same subject, provided by the president of Sony, not going to try it, as shared by one angry gamer. Regarding the regulation and the depiction of its content, it's simply a matter of matching global standards. As for the freedom of expression, we have to think about what would be unpleasant for children and shield them from those things while also thinking and assessing ways to find balance for that expression. Reading that quote out loud from Sony as a PlayStation goy, I play PlayStation. Yes, I have an Xbox One X down there. Still haven't opened the box. I just got such a great deal on it on Black Friday. I was like, I'm going to buy myself an Xbox for Christmas. Merry Christmas. And then that was 7 months ago, 8 months ago, and I haven't opened it. Reading this quote from Sony and knowing what we know about and what we've seen from quotes from people like Phil Spencer, it makes me seriously question if I'm interested at all in the new PlayStation 5 or the new Xbox console. I'm starting to think that I'm just not. I'm starting to think that I'm just going to stay over here in the PC lane and play that and then get whatever new Switch comes out because I like this attitude. Now, I get it. As I've always said, look, you want to play your games, enjoy them. That is the number one thing. Look, it could all change tomorrow. We've seen with events with fellow YouTubers, family members, and fellow YouTubers. So it's not worth getting too caught up in this thing. But I'm old. I'm a boomer. I get like 2 hours a week if I'm lucky to play video games. So I'm constantly missing out on games. I talk about it. I've got Divinity Original Sin, Metro Exodus sitting here unopened. I've got a whole shelf of unopened Switch games. I'm not really going to miss out if I don't play the latest PlayStation release because I have endless backlog to play. And also, there are plenty of games available on PC that I can play. So for me, the decision is not one of sacrifice. It's one of moral. But I would never judge anyone else for just wanting to have fun and play video games. But that said, for all the railing we do together as a community against this type of actions, I think it's important that we spread the good news and that we share that Nintendo clearly has the same interest as we do in minds and doesn't want to act like our moms and dads. So thank you, Nintendo, for being awesome. Seriously, keep it up. Don't ever change, and you'll have customer for life out of me. Spread the news, friends. Talk to you again real soon.